In August 1914, General Moritz von Auffenberg's Fourth Army marched into the undulating terrain of the Sokal Ridge. Their objective was to locate and engage the Russian Fifth Army in the dense morning fog. These troops marched into modern, industrialized warfare without steel helmets. They were protected by nothing more than the standard-issue wool Feldkappe, leaving them entirely exposed to shrapnel and artillery fire. Coordinating over 200,000 men across this broken landscape required precise timing, but the Austro-Hungarian command lacked modern field radios. Orders moved at the speed of a courier on horseback. The result was sudden, blind collision. At 6:30 a.m. on August 30th, the 18th Infantry Regiment advanced through the mist near Brudek and walked directly into an entrenched Russian battalion, completely unaware of the heavy machine guns waiting for them. The front lines instantly dissolved into a series of localized bloodbaths. With communication broken, grand strategy evaporated. High-ranking officers had to draw their sidearms and fight waist-deep in the mud alongside the infantry to keep the lines from collapsing. Obersta von Reyla, commander of the 9th Landwehr Infantry Regiment, saw his entire machine gun crew killed. He took over the weapon himself to cover his men until a Russian bullet caught him squarely in the forehead. The opening hours of the battle were a chaotic meat grinder. Centralized tactical control did not exist here. Survival depended entirely on the raw endurance of the man on the ground. Miles behind the carnage, General Auffenberg was operating off a very different reality. His strategy was a manure Klishchovi, a pincer movement. The plan: pin the Russian Fifth Army in the center, while Red Austro-Hungarian flanks bent inward. To hold this trap, Colonel von Storr's detachment executed an uphill bayonet charge, securing the Dubie cemetery heights. Securing those heights anchored the southern jaw of the pincer. Auffenberg's theoretical lines on paper were now a physical barrier locking the Russians in place. But the northern jaw nearly snapped off entirely. At 12:30 p.m., a false report of a Russian flanking maneuver triggered a sudden, panicked retreat of the 25th Infantry Division, leaving a massive gap in the Austro-Hungarian line. To stop the Russians from pouring through, the 49th Infantry Regiment, led by Colonel Henke von Heshart, launched a brutal lateral counterattack from Tarzimaki to plug the hole. They fought the Russian advance to a complete standstill for hours, holding the gap until they ran entirely out of ammunition by 5 o'clock. Unable to shoot back, the regiment was forced into a fighting retreat across the muddy banks of the Łabuńka River. Their sacrifice bought enough time. By September 1st, Austro-Hungarian reserves arrived and shattered the exhausted Russian lines, forcing the remnants of the Fifth Army into a disorganized retreat across the Bug River. The sheer physical endurance and localized aggression of the frontline commanders held the line together long enough to snap the trap shut. On the morning of September 2nd, the Austro-Hungarian High Command officially proclaimed the victory at Komarov. The mood at headquarters was jubilant. The Fourth Army had captured over 10,000 Russian soldiers, pulling them directly out of the shrinking pocket. They also secured the surrounding railway stations, seizing 150 pieces of heavy artillery and thousands of abandoned weapons from the fleeing enemy. The Fourth Army prepared to hunt the retreating survivors. But 70 miles south, a much larger map was unraveling. The neighboring Third Army was in total collapse, overrun by an overwhelming wave of Russian forces pushing toward Lvov. High Command issued Operational Order No. 1490. It demanded the Fourth Army instantly halt their pursuit and abandon the territory they had just bled for. Men who had survived 4 days of horrific close-quarters combat were ordered to turn around on their heels and begin a forced march south to plug the gaping hole in the imperial defense. The victory at Komarov was a tactical triumph, perfectly drawn and violently executed. But isolated from the collapsing front lines around it, the entire effort was rendered strategically irrelevant before the smoke even cleared.